Welcome, everybody. Michelle Lee here with Athena Rising Now. I'm a women's empowerment coach, having an awesome series interviewing men about the divine masculine and how women stepping into their power can support them. I'm super excited to be talking with Henry Johnstone today. He is an emotional courage coach from the UK. He works passionately with men and women who want to experience emotional harmony, face their fears, and make courageous, daring choices in their relationships, their work, and their lives. Welcome, Henry. I so appreciate you being here today.
Hi, Michelle. Hello, everybody. It is amazing to be here today. Thank you so much for asking me to come and join you.
Oh, yes.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I just love the work that you're doing. It's so timely. We need this redefining of masculinity. And I know that is something you stand for. You're walking your talk, you're living it. And, you know, the world feels a little upside down in relationships, right? As women are stepping into their power and owning who they are and who they want to become, it has created a lot of fear and stress in relationships and for men. And I want us to be able to support our men in becoming whole beings too. You know, I've been a women's empowerment coach for 16 years, working on self-love, and a whole piece that I was missing was that, you know what, men haven't been allowed to be whole either, and how we can best support them in doing that. So would you just tell us what you're doing, how you got on this path, and, you know, what sets your heart on fire?
My heart on fire. I like that. That is how I feel. Today I'm feeling very on fire. I'm feeling very in love, as I told you yesterday. So my path really started way back when I was a child. Like, I was born very much into the feminine energy. I was very much in my body. And then I kind of took some interesting life choices. I got into addiction, you know, very, very heavily. And what that really did was just deconstructed my sense of self. It broke me down. And what I did 9 years ago was pick up those broken parts, discover what was important to me, put me back together. And no small part of that involved learning about my emotions, learning about my role as a man, and then comparing it to what I wanted, what was important to me. And I've discovered a life that is so rich, so abundant. And it sounds crazy. People are like, are you sure? And I'm like, oh God, yeah, absolutely. Like, emotions, understanding the balance, that is the keys to the kingdom of a rich, rich, beautiful life. And I told you earlier, like, I'm feeling super in love today. You know, I'm just head over heels with my partner. I'm really feeling it. I'm really feeling that beautiful balance of between the body and the head. You know, it's working in beautiful kind of congruence, you know, and I'm there with you. I hope that answers your question. I kind of got carried away with all the love and the fabulousness of life.
No, I think that's awesome. I mean, it's so beautiful, and it's what, you know, our planet needs. So I would like to ask you, you know, I've been raising boys on my own for 22 years. My oldest boy is 22, my youngest is 15, and they haven't had a strong male figure in their life. They've had a very strong female figure, me, and I've also been very strong in my masculine. And I can't say that was been necessarily the strong, you know, the healthiest masculine. But what I see culturally is how hard it is for a boy to be in tune with his emotions and be the vulnerable being that he probably really wants to be, and still get the acceptance and the friendship of other boys. So can you speak into that a little bit? How did you find your way in really going, wait, that's what culture says a man should be and do, but I don't want to do that? How did you have the courage to do that?
You know, it's so important that you mention culture and society. If you look anywhere for like the role of a man, then you will see like this hugely grotesque, overblown, muscly protector, warrior, and it's everywhere. You know, me as an adult man, I'm under a lot of pressure to conform to this role, and it's something that I have to challenge daily. And children, they are just like these beautiful sponges, you know. They just absorb everything around them. If they want a lesson, they will look to their parents, but they will also look to the far more accessible world, you know, that exists in TV, media, and then they'll feed off other people who are being like brought up. How I did it, I got in touch with the little boy. Like when I was a kid, I was very, very lucky that, you know, I used to pick flowers for my neighbors, you know. All I wanted to do was show love. That's all little Henry wanted to do. It was to show love, give love, be loved. And I don't think like I was necessarily alone in that. I think that's a very, very human condition. Because love is absolutely an essential emotional need for us. And that's what I did as a child. And as I grew up and I was looking for that identity, because we all search for identities, especially when we're children. There is a need for that stability, some kind of framework to stick into. And as a man, we are very linear. We look very forward. We need to look forward, channel it into something that we understand, then fit the criteria of that. And, you know, and it works against us that there's all this influx of information of how to do that. And I think it's super important for the child to understand that that's okay, but their role is far broader.
Yeah.
And like, they can do that. It's that telling the child that they're okay, how they are, you know, and if they want to show love. Never, ever tell a child that what they're feeling is wrong.
Right.
You know? I think that's super important, to really nurture them in a world which is trying to force them down a very particular path. And that will, in later life, create like such friction. And what I did, you know, as I looked for this identity, it fractured me. You know, it fractured me, it fractured the loving child. And I tried to fit that round peg into a square hole so hard. And it broke me. And it was a natural way for me to go, to seek a damaging framework to go into, you know, because I felt so fractured inside.
Wow. I love that you share that, really tuning in with the inner child, because what you're speaking of is, you know, how we need to raise our kids. And it takes super healthy, awakened parents, you know, because you know, I started being a mom when I was 19 years old. So I very much programmed my children with my own stuff, which is healed, you know, as I've grown and woke up and done my work, you know, that is benefiting them as well. But what you're talking about doing, you know, has to be come from very strong, confident, self-aware parents. So I love what you shared, is that you're reparenting. You reparented yourself, you know, tapping into that inner child. So I totally dig that. And it's imperative, you know, it changes our past. So I want our listeners to understand that just because you may have had a particular childhood, you are not locked into that experience, that you really can reparent yourself and heal those. And as you heal them, you heal the people around you, including your children.
Absolutely. It works like a ripple, you know?
It does. And the work you're doing, you know, with your clients, and whether you choose to have children or not, you are shifting generations, right? Because working with the people you work with affects everyone that they're around. So it really is a strong, strong ripple. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for having the courage to do that.
I wanted to just reflect back to you quickly. I recognize you as being, you know, a mother. And I will never experience being a mother, but oh my God, I have so much respect for mothers. Like, absolutely.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I'll take that in.
Yeah.
So it's something that you and I had discussing is a little bit about, I want to know how, as women, we can best support our men. Because here's what I know for sure.
Yeah.
What I've been teaching for years with women's empowerment and helping women own their wholeness and their divinity is that culturally, the biases against the feminine run very deeply, and men and women carry those biases. Not sure how I should say that, but awakening to how boys and men have also been put into a box of roles, like this is your role and this is who you have to be. Women carry those biases as well and they don't realize how much they're hindering the man they love.
Yeah.
And I know that was true for me, that, I wanted my man to play this role, and I was not willing to be as vulnerable or be as present for him to be as vulnerable. So I think, I would love for you to bring some awareness to our listeners about how we unconsciously, prohibit the people we love in our lives to play roles, and how we can stop doing that.
That's really interesting. I think it's super important that everyone understands, the roles that we expect. And because we're kind of conditioned to expect these, so it might not be conscious, but what we do is that we hand over our power. When a woman might want to be more decisive and go more linear, she might be ignoring like the other side of her feminine energy, which will empower her much further. And the man might expect that from her. Wait, I've got kind of confused. So when the women want to make a kind of a male choice, the man will immediately recognize that as a threat.
Yes.
That infringes on his role. And like, as women, to be there for your man, I think it's really important to understand that from birth, he's been very aware that he's the protector. He is the warrior. He's there to hold up the walls when things get really bad. And when the woman unconsciously has that bias towards wanting to be in the male role, she threatens that.
Yeah.
The man will be like, oh my God, my role is being lost. I feel unstable. What am I going to do? I'm going to go into panic mode and I'm going to hit my walls all down. And that means that there's a lack of communication between the two. And that's where the friction comes. It's that locking down, can't respond, the gap widens. Something that helped me hugely in my relationship is going to my lady, her name's Jo, she's fabulous, and saying, I feel the need to always be strong and always be there for you. Right now, I'm feeling really vulnerable. And it's so important that you name that and then you ask for what you need emotionally. I feel vulnerable. What I need for you is to recognize me as still wanting to be protected, but right now I can't do that. Are you willing to step into my role and hold me while I do that? And what that does, something magical happens, because the woman is able to step into the man's role. The man is willing for her to do that, but he's willing to step into his body and recognize her. And then it creates this congruence thing. And that's how we go about embodying both the energies. And it creates this, it's a ball, right?
Right.
It's a ball. The man's with the woman and the woman's with the man.
Yes. Wow. That's so perfect. And that takes me to the next aspect. It's such a perfect segue, Henry, that we have within ourselves both masculine and feminine. So I would love for you to talk into that, in being able to embody both energies in a healthy way. Honestly, my greatest challenge has been being in my feminine, being a single mom for so long and running a business for so long. I've just been like masculine energy. And So how do you recommend, whether, we all need both, and I don't suppose that we can always be balanced at all the times, but I've gotten to where, like, I'm conscious. It's like, okay, be in my feminine. Otherwise I'll run the freaking world, right? I mean, I'm just like telling everybody what to do and where to go, and that's not great for an intimate relationship all the time. So what would you say is the best way to begin to embody both in a healthy way?
So I think there's one main foundation that matters here. And vulnerability is bandied around so often, but it's so misunderstood. If you go on social media, there'll be a million posts saying, be vulnerable, and it's easy to read that, but it doesn't go in. You understand it on an intellectual level, Being vulnerable is that it's scary. We are comfort seeking creatures. We will avoid vulnerability. So right there, create a loving space, a respectful space. This is a space where we can talk. That is the most important. If you want to start embodying both your energies, you've got to feel safe. Otherwise, whatever's going to come up is going to hit resistance, and you're going to have a bad experience, and you're not going to want to go there again. So create a loving, name the emotions, name what you want. It's like, hey, I want to communicate with you. And, they'll come and say, I want to communicate with you. There's two-way thing. You have a safe place. You name your vulnerability, and then you coat it all in love and respect. And of course, we are creatures of intense conflict. Nothing will ever be completely balanced, but it's, as you said, you have a mindfulness and you're aware of where you're going. I need to be in the masculine energy right now. I need that decisiveness. I need that linear approach, or I'm feeling unrooted. I need to get back into my feminine energy. I need to know what's going on with my emotions. I need to tune into them. I need to listen to them. I need to be loving to myself and acknowledge the perceived weaknesses, the perceived vulnerability, and coat it in love. But whatever you do, don't go into a crowded room and say, hey guys, I'm feeling really vulnerable. You're not going to get what you want. Sometimes people don't know how to deal with it. So pick someone that you trust, be it your partner, be it your coach, be it your therapist, and be very real with them, very, very loving, and name what you want to talk about, and it will be okay. And we all fear. It's like when we remove ourselves from our roles, it removes our purpose, right?
Yeah.
And purpose gives us meaning. And to be in that floaty state where there's a potential event that's going to remove our purpose on a meaning, that's really, really, really scary. We don't want that. But that's not going to happen. It's like that. Feel the fear, do it with love. Feel the fear and do it anyway. You kind of open yourself up to a whole load of stuff. Feel the fear, do it with love, and communicate, and that is the basis. And people can do that like right now. If you feel it, you want to talk to your partner, say it, I really want to talk to you, or I really want to communicate with you something. Will you meet me in this communicative space? Can we communicate? And let's just say it. I love you. I love you so much. I want this to work. I want to feel more connected to you. I want to have intimate, mind-blowing stuff going on,
Right.
And that is the way that I'd say.
So vulnerability is so key, and I'm glad you bring it up. And like you said, we see the word, we hear people talking about it, and I'm going to be super vulnerable now and say I didn't realize how much I resisted vulnerability, and how just incredible how we become so conditioned in self-protection. And here's another piece. There's a lack of self-worth and self-esteem that shows up. If you're not willing to be vulnerable, that's a self-worth issue. That is that underlying piece is, if somebody really knew me, if this person really knew me and really saw me, they wouldn't love me.
Yeah.
And so that's a self-worth and self-love issue.
Absolutely.
And here I was, going, I teach women to love themselves. And I didn't realize I had this deep underlying resistance to being vulnerable.
Mm.
And so I'm so glad that you bring that up. And so what would be the number and two tips that you would tell somebody like me who has been, pretty unconscious about resisting vulnerability? What would be your biggest tips for them to begin to have the courage to truly be seen?
I think you've got to start with yourself. You've got to take some loving time for yourself, and be aware that this is a process. It's something that comes if you've been conditioned to build up a resistance to something. It's there for a reason, and that fear of rejection is so key. It is one of the first things that we experience as children that we understand. That's not pleasant. I don't like that. My value is gone from myself. Why did this person reject me? And really, what we're kind of like, if we step into our vulnerability and we allow ourselves to be seen, that is super vulnerable. Super vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do when we do it in a loving place with ourselves, we make it okay. You've got to admit to yourself first. You've got to be like, I'm feeling vulnerable. What am I feeling vulnerable about? What is the worst thing that's gonna happen here? And then what you do, the courage comes when you step up, you show up to the person, and then you name your deepest fear, and then you allow yourself to be seen. And I truly believe one of the greatest gifts you can give to another human being is to see them as they are. We are imperfect but supremely beautiful beings, and no one is going to reject you. Absolutely no one. The fear that you have has been created by you for you. And that instability that you fear, that's all in here. It's all a construct, which is just telling you like, whoa, 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 don't go past this barrier. No, 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 no. But it's okay. Go with your body. You're going to be fine.
Powerful, powerful. And I'd like to just add to that when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we actually get the love we crave.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We can't get that love any other way. If we've got that barrier is not only protecting us from rejection, it's protecting us from love.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's scary, and it takes courage to do that. But we're all capable of it. And there is that certain type of love. Do you know what? I'm feeling it now. I'm really, really feeling it. That love that you allow someone to see that. That is the courage. That is the strength. That is where the changes come. We can do the work inside us, and we can become ready to take that step. And when you take that step, the mind gets blown.
Yes.
Once you conquer the fears that have existed inside here, wow, that's when life begins to unfold, and that's where the courage comes in. It's like, and when you take time to recognize what you've done, it's amazing. It's like, I was so scared of this, but man, I did that. I own that. I smashed that. Where can I do that again? Where can I can do that here. I'm going to do that here in some kind of level of being okay, facing your fears and doing it with love, and then you will get that love. And as I say, like, everything's going to be fine. There's nothing to worry about. Do these things, you're going to be fine.
That's perfect. That's perfect. And as I was thinking that there needs to be a level of consistency too in doing that, because I would like to share a story that occurred about 13 years ago. And I was in my first group self-development where you got into the circle, you worked on your stuff, and you had somebody who worked with you, the leader who was a coach and a psychologist, and then you had everyone in the circle around giving feedback. And I had never done that before, and I was already a self coach. It was early on in my business, and I got in the middle and I said, I really don't know why I'm here. I do this work. I don't need to be here. And wow, I got a lot of feedback like, I mean, one guy told me he effing hated me. It's like,
Wow.
oh my God. I mean, he was really strong. But I took that, Henry, and the next week I went there and I was super vulnerable. And I decided, and I don't know if Bill, who was in the middle, a wonderful, wonderful gentleman, if he prompted me on this. I don't remember how I came to it, but I came up with the three top things that I was ashamed of. And I
Wow.
decided I was going to reveal them to the group. And
Amazing.
I did that. I got in the middle and, talk about courage. I was sweating. My hands were shaking, right? And I just revealed this shame. And
Mm,
I received so much love that night,
yeah.
right? I mean, and the thing, they're like, you were ashamed of that? Let me tell you about my experience, right?
Oh, beautiful.
So I bring that up because that was 13 years ago. And what I hadn't realized is that, I know that was a life-changing event for me. But then going into an intimate relationship, I did not bring that same vulnerability into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just wanted to share that, like how important it is to be consistent. It,
Absolutely.
we don't get to do it one time and think we're done.
Oh God, no. It's the same thing as kind of reading something on social media. It's like, oh, I've read that. It's fine. I've got that. Like, it doesn't go anywhere. Like, you're only going to get somewhere. And what you did, that is courage. And you said you were sat in a circle.
Yeah.
Like, man, like who wants to do that? Can you imagine revealing something you're totally ashamed of, but surrounded by people?
Right.
There's so many sort of spiritual significances there of like your hidden spot and all this, and well done for that. That sounds transformative.
Thank
And that
you.
really speaks to the stuff that we're really afraid of and feeling ashamed. That's deep and dark stuff. And we never ever want to tell someone for fear of that rejection, for the fear that they will see in us what we see in ourselves when we hold on to that. But that's it. Like, in a loving environment, you will only get love back.
Yes. Yes.
And
Beautiful.
it's gotta be consistent, like if it feels uncomfortable, don't worry. Everyone feels that way. It's kind of counterintuitive the first time you do it, but then you just become super agile. You become like you'll be a super ninja at it. You'll just be in the flow and you're like, oh, this guy, okay, no, right. And like with me, my process is I'll feel ashamed of something and I can feel it. It's like a fish hook on my heart, and I'm just like, I've just got to say this. I say it, and it's like, oh, well, there's no worries, it's fine. I just needed to share that with you. I needed to be real. Consistency is the point, and then when you do it, everyone says this. It's like riding a bike or learning to drive. It just becomes natural, and you do it, and then you do it every day, and and people recognize that.
Yeah.
That's when the ripple comes, and they're like, I really like that guy. He's really charismatic. How
Right.
do I get that? And it's like, show up to your emotions, get vulnerable, step past that membrane of fear, and you've got it, and you're there.
Love it. Love it. And it's really required of us now. We want to live on a peaceful, loving planet. We have to be vulnerable. We have to be
Absolutely.
willing to live from the heart space, which is truly being seen and knowing what I learned was that I don't have to be perfect to be loved. Right?
Absolutely. That's the perfectionist coming in.
Yeah.
Everyone has the perfectionist. Oh my God. Be kept in check, because that is an unreal and way too much pressure.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. Well, Henry, this has been such a pleasure speaking with you. And, you are so open-hearted. I just feel your love, and I appreciate you being here today. Would you share with our listeners how they can find you?
Okay, well, I'm Henry Johnstone on Facebook, and it's my personal profile. I do have a page. Just have me as a friend. Like, I want to have you as a friend. I want to be able to connect with you. It's all about meaningful connections. There's no agenda. It's unconditional. I'm here for everybody, and it'd just be fab to meet you. what's going on. On Instagram, I'm Henry Johnstone Coaching, and that's where I post a lot of like realness. You get me. There's no filter. I rarely post pictures of things, but you'll just get unfiltered realness of a human being wanting to connect.
Wow. Love it. Thank you so much for being here.
Michelle, thank you. It's an honor to be here with such an amazing woman such as yourself, and share a bit of my story for anyone who would, be amazing if someone finds something within our talk, be like, oh my God, like I can do this. Like I am the ripple.
Exactly. That's why we're here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Be sure and check out Henry on Instagram and Facebook, and we'll see you next time.